kick off with this. Friday afternoon, we could see an American duel in the Italian Supercup. Christian Pulisic, reportedly back from injury, taking on his AC Milan, taking on Juventus, and Weston McKennie, of course. You excited? What about that? A Friday afternoon delight.
Am I excited? That is a complicated question because there are some pros and there are some cons, Rob. And I'm not usually that kind of person. I don't make a list with every decision I make. I'm more like waffle for about an hour before I finally am forced to make a choice.
We're getting more and more stuff in common, I'm noticing.
That's not a good thing to have in common.
I guess we have waffles with our morning kick around.
If we had a rim shot, I would let you play, but we don't have one, so we will just move forward, trudge ahead as it is.
Put some syrup on it, too.
Look, here's the pro. The pro is what you just mentioned. We might have some American involvement in this game. I think if Pulisic is back and healthy,
reports saying he is.
Brand new manager Sergio Conceição would like to use him in this game. I suppose that would be fine. That would be okay. Don't risk the kid. Don't push him too hard. I mean, we don't have internationals for the U.S. men's national team that matter until March. I still would like him to be healthy and playing soccer for AC Milan.
Yeah.
There's that. There's the Weston McKennie thing. It's almost like clockwork now. That every couple of weeks I see a story about how Weston McKennie has made himself invaluable. After all of the questions about whether or not he was going to be able to stick it out, they were looking for options to move him along. Obviously, he had the Leeds period, which we all just going to memory hole. One day, memory hole is going to be Weston McKennie played at Leeds United. That's going to be a thing on this show.
No doubt.
And now the stories are he's made himself invaluable to Thiago Motta, and he's part of the project, and there's a new contract and all these things. And it's like, okay, great. Good for Weston. Again, that's a pro. American involvement in a game between AC Milan and Juventus I will never take that for granted. As an old enough American soccer fan, I will never take that for granted. Of course, you have Weston McKennie and Tim Weah involved. Yunus Musa and Tim Weah involved potentially. I think Weah's hurt. Is that right? Or to check on injury status for Mr. Weah. But the problem, the negative, the con is that this game is taking place in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And it's a Super Cup. It's not the Italian Cup. It's not Serie A. It's not the Champions League. It's not even the Europa League. Hell, it's not even the Conference League. It is the Super Cup. And I talked to an Italian football expert yesterday on the radio, and his comment was, the teams that win it care about it. The teams that don't, whatever. It's one of those self-fulfilling cups. It's like, if you win it, you feel great. But it does bring up questions about what Conceição and Motta will do in this game in terms of their lineup. We saw Inter Milan beat Atalanta in this tournament in the Super Cup yesterday. Did Atalanta play their best team? Oh, hell no, they did not play their best team. That was not in that particular case, for Gasparini, it was not worth it. Down to Saudi Arabia, right after the Christmas break. Lots of games coming. Atalanta not necessarily as well resourced as an Inter or as a Juve or as a Milan, even though, of course, they're having a great season so far. And that's the thing for Atalanta. They look at themselves. They see themselves at the top of the table right there with Napoli and Inter Milan, and they're like, well, how do we hold on to this?
Why rock the boat now?
Why go hard on the Supercoppa when we've got a chance to win the Scudetto? I mean, that would be, incredible, an achievement like no other for Atalanta. So that's where I'm at with this game. Am I going to try to peek at it? Sure, I will absolutely peek at it. Am I going to think of it as some massive occasion? No. And I don't know what the crowd's going to be. What's the atmosphere like in Saudi Arabia for Supercoppa matches? Rob, what's it like? Anybody know?
Yeah, what's going on in the first weekend in January in Saudi Arabia? It's I've never been, so I couldn't tell you what the Friday night life is like out there. But better than the average Friday at 2:00 entertainment potentially there. And then what you're saying with the how much gravity or value is there, the coverage and the pictures and the videos I've seen from there, it looks like a preseason. Summer, warm weather training, and they looked all very, easygoing. And I think most of the stories were about club legends going for like a visit to say hi and stuff like that. So
did they do the camel photo op? There's always a camel photo op. They didn't do that.
like a thumbs up next to a camel or two.
I like on top of a camel, like, oh look, it's Vlahovic and he's riding a camel. I don't know. Like, what do we? I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird situation. And of course, when I talk about Atalanta being at the top of the table and them not taking a risk when they play against Inter yesterday, Juve and AC Milan are not where they want to be. Now, Juve is closer to where they want to be than Milan is. Milan, this is why they fired Fonseca, because they were not anywhere close to where they want to be, and they're looking down the barrel of missing the Champions League. So Milan needs to start turning around their fortunes right now. But of course, again, Conceição has an opportunity to make his first impression in this game against the most successful team in the history of Italian football. So he's got a couple of competing motivations in this, and it should be interesting. I mean, again, injuries have been a problem in the draw against Roma. That ultimately, I mean, you can't say it was the. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm going to say this. I don't know that you can say it was the straw that broke the camel's back for Fonseca, but in the draw against Roma, that ultimately led to him being dismissed. He was down 4 or 5 key players. They were missing guys, and I don't know how many of them are back. Pulisic might be back, but what about everybody else?
Yeah, there's some pretty brutal headlines I saw last night and this morning, like job too big for Fonseca and this and that, just like totally slandering him when, they didn't give him much of a caveat for his injury list. Further injury news, there could have been 2 versus 2 as far as Americans on this, but Tim Weah doubtful with a thigh injury, and Musa doubtful with a muscle injury himself. In other Americans abroad this weekend, Fulham and Anthony Robinson take on Ipswich, and then the American duo of Chris Richards and riding on the bench Matt Turner are taking on Chelsea.
Riding on the bench Chris Richards. Those two guys are bench jockeys over there at Crystal Palace. So yeah.
So I guess without like monitoring Crystal Palace from game to game, has Chris Richards benching lead to the is that kind of parallel to the improvement of form at Palace?
No, I mean, I don't know that you can one-for-one correlation that, Rob, but I would like to not do that. It would make me feel bad about Chris Richards and American defenders. I do think it's problematic that Chris Richards has apparently not won any more playing time for Palace when we do have, I think, a pretty clear issue at center back for the U.S. men's national team. And we were talking before the show that Mauricio Pochettino is going to call up his first January camp roster on Monday. That's going to be MLS players because that's always what January is about. Are there going to be a couple of faces on the center back side of that? I mean, is it just going to be Miles Robinson? Is it going to be Walker Zimmerman coming back into the team because he's healthy and I don't know, he's got nothing else going on? I mean, is a player like Jalen Neal anywhere close to the U.S. men's national team right now because he's not a starter with the Galaxy after they won a championship? I mean, these are Jackson Reagan. Is Jackson Reagan going to become a guy we're going to think about for the national team because Chris Richards can't get on the field? I mean, you still got Mark McKenzie out there. I'm not even mentioning Tim Ream because I think we're all thinking it's got to happen sooner rather than later.
He's going to be the American Pepe, I'm telling you. 38, 39 years strong.
Oh, he's not going to shave his head. Okay. That'd be great, though. Tim Ream, after all those years with the long hair, just one day just go straight up Bickett bald. See what he looks like. It's like me with my beard. Every time I threaten to shave my beard, my wife goes, "No, you will be divorced tomorrow." And I go, all right, well, I guess I'm not shaving the beard.
Well, the only time I've ever seen my father without a beard was he said he'd shave it at my high school graduation, didn't, college graduation, didn't. And he finally did it the day after I got married, and it was terrifying. And I think my mom was like, paint it on or something immediately. Grow it back instantly. And so I saluted him for his bravery, but he returned to his normal form very quickly.
You're saying don't make big hair decisions is what you're saying. Just like stick with what you are. We're all comfortable with your covered face or your long Tim Ream hair. Don't change it. If
you're a beard lifer, put some serious thought into it.
I think the commitment is there at this point. I don't think I'm going back. And my 3-year-old, almost 4, has never seen me without it. I think it would shock him. I think it would be too much for his little brain to comprehend.